I just built an RV in the back of a moving truck, and then I drove it from 2 countries, across America through 19 states, about 6,700 miles in the snow and thunderstorms, in the Miami heat, in the West Coast mountains. I visited the van life Holy Grail in Sedona. I saw the Grand Canyon. I went through international customs with my cat. I met the coolest people, and I made a ton of mistakes with Overlander. This is my story. After living on the boat and doing the Caribbean thing, I wanted to build out a van. For a long time, I was looking for a schoolie to build, but finally decided that smaller would probably be better, at least to start. But I needed to be able to work from the road, so a van would be too small to support my editing rig. Plus, after dealing with boat life, I knew I wanted a real shower. So I settled on a box truck. I got Charlie the truck for $6,000 and I got cracking on the build. When he was finally as done as he was gonna be, I set off. From February in Canada, I hit the US border in Detroit, Michigan with my cat Sansa, hoping for the best. With all the political tension at the time with Trump's tariffs and the movement to make Canada the 51st state or whatever, I was a bit worried about crossing the border, but the customs lady asked all the usual questions and then asked to see the inside of Charlie. She didn't pull me in for secondary inspection or anything. She just came out of her booth through the driver's door, through the pass-through, and got inside Charlie. "Wow, this is amazing," she said. "The tile in the bathroom and the kitchen, but where are you gonna sleep?" I said, "It's a Murphy bed," and I explained that from the passenger seat where I was sitting holding onto the cat. Wow, she loved Charlie. Then she said she'd never been to Miami and offered to help with some of the driving and laughed and then got back in her booth telling me to go have a good time. I was in. Hey guys, good morning. We are in Ohio right now. Driving a box truck on the turnpike. This is crazy. Go Charlie, go. Get out of the way, Tesla. My first stop would be nearly 800 miles away from home, or about 12 hours of driving. And that was the goal, get as far south on the first stop as possible to get warm. My work is making YouTube videos about sailboats, and I had the opportunity to film at a sailmaker in Deltaville, so I was on my way. Through most of the Midwest, it was easy driving on the interstates, and Charlie sits right at about 70 miles per hour without very much effort. I was worried that while he gets 10 miles to the gallon, he only carries 30 gallons of gas. And a second gas tank has been on my to-do list, but I realized that when it's just me driving, 30 gallons is actually plenty. It forces you to stop for gas every 3 hours or so, which is nice to kind of get up and walk around. Washington is crazy. This road, the speed limit is 55. I'm in a very slow lane doing 65. The far lane is more like 80. It's just nuts. It's madness. Washington is just ridiculous. Manassas. That's Manassas. Manassas hurting from driving this truck for 10 hours. Charlie's pretty comfortable, but driving is driving. You get sore. I replaced the seat foam in the driver's seat in Charlie with brand new GM truck gel foam from a friend who works in that industry. So the seat is super comfortable. I made 3-hour hops from gas station to gas station and was very much enjoying my time. Look at this building right here. It's weird as hell. Weird building. It's probably like, what's that Tom Cruise church? Scientology. It's probably a Scientology church because it's freaking weird. My first night, I had somewhere to stay in Deltaville where I could legally park the truck and plug in my extension cord to power my little heater. Hey guys, so we're finally here. Sansa has made herself comfortable on the bed. I'm in Deltaville, Virginia after 745 miles. I was just catching up on my email and stuff. The Starlink is working fantastic. It's like 1 degree here. But it's 72 in here, so I'm using this space heater, which is plugged in outside. It can run off the batteries, but if you run it all night, oh man, there'd probably be no batteries left. So it's plugged into they had a spot for me to park here. So I'm plugged into a 15 amp outlets for the space heater. And just to bring us up to temp quick, I got Mr. Big Buddy. Just runs on propane. I'm just going to run it for about 20 minutes just to bring us up. We're at 72 degrees right now. It's 60 degrees in the cab of the truck. Hey guys, it's like 5:30 in the morning. We're up and moving. Little situation report on Charlie because I've used the shower and everything now for the first time. But last night we got settled to go to bed and I put the TV remote right here and I started to get comfy in bed and Sansa the cat batted the TV remote into her water. So the TV remote stopped working and I was like, oh my god, it's the first night and the TV remote's already dead and now I don't have TV for 2 weeks. Anyway, it was 61 when I woke up. You'll see it's 80 now. But it was 61 when I woke up with just that little space heater running. So I turned that guy on, which is insane. And it got up to 80 like in, I don't know, 10 or 12 minutes. Had a shower and I realized I forgot to bring towels. Like of all the lists I made of things to not forget and all that, I forgot towels. So I had to use like regular kitchen towels. But the shower works great. And then I headed south with a big winter storm rolling in later that day. I made it through the Carolinas when the rain hit and I drove and drove all through the storms. Happy it was just rain because that same storm hit Canada and it was pretty bad back home. I made Georgia and needed somewhere to stay, and this was my first use of really using iOverlander. I'd been studying it for months before the trip. iOverlander is sort of a crowdsourced map program place where you can find places to sleep, get water, or dump your holding tanks. Van lifers and RVers use it a lot. Anyway, I found a spot to hide for the night at this camping place where no one bothers you, and it was just off the interstate. I found this on iOverlander. I parked up and enjoyed my first night in reasonably warm weather. It was in the 60s inside when I woke up, so no heater needed. I hit the road again and I made it to Miami, blasting music on Charlie's two 10-inch subs as I rolled into Florida, happy to have made it to that warmer climate. When that Florida sun hit me, man, that felt pretty good. I had to stay in Miami for a while for the Miami Boat Show, another work thing, and finding a spot seemed hard at first. As I learned when I was living on the boat traveling around, Florida is not transient friendly. They don't like people who don't live there actually sleeping there. You aren't allowed more than a few hours at any of the rest stops, and sleeping in cars is prohibited. Florida kinda sucks. But iOverlander led me to the 8th Street Levee. This is right outside Miami and people stay here a lot. And I was pleasantly surprised to see a few other camper vans already here. A quick chat with them verified that they'd been here for days, so I was definitely safe to sleep here for a few days. But it was 96 degrees. I was finally able to open Charlie right up for the first time in months, but had to close up at night because Florida is where all the pests live. And I mean mosquitoes, not Floridians. Charlie has a 5,000 BTU window chugger air conditioner, but it was no match for that Miami heat, and I slept in about 81 degree air, which super sucked, but live and learn. Hey guys, we're in Miami. Oh my goodness, it is 80 something degrees here. Look at this. We're parked at the levee, the 8th Street Levee, just outside Miami. Miami proper is just that way. Solar panels are up, pulling in. I saw it charging at 90 amps, but I turned the water heater on. I had a hot shower, which was super nice. We're charging at 33 right now, but the computer's on, the water heater's on. And I was just playing with the air conditioner. This was covered with insulation up until now. But you can see it's 82 in here. It's 82, or 86 in here, 82 inside the cab. But we can have air conditioning. Oh, the smoke alarm keeps going off too. And I don't know why. As soon as we got here and I opened the back door, every like 20 minutes the smoke alarm goes off and freaks out. So 5,000 is not enough for a 16-foot box truck, even when it's fully insulated with 1.5-inch thick rigid insulation. This is also where tilting solar panels really came into play. I set them up so that if the truck is facing east, the panels will tilt to the south to get more sun. Also on the roof is the Starlink, which is supposed to tilt north. So I mounted it facing north when the truck sits facing east. This way the solar's maximized, the Starlink is maximized, and the open back door will always be facing west to watch the sunset. During the day, I was able to make use of my stealth, and I parked in downtown Miami looking like any other delivery truck, which was super cool. After Florida, I was done with my work obligations, and it was time for a little break from work to do what I wanted to do. And I wanted to see New Orleans. This was a mistake. New Orleans is a lot like Detroit, but with worse streets. All the places iOverlander suggested staying were so sketchy and the roads were so awful, I just left. I did not want to be in New Orleans at all. So I drove north to Baton Rouge and I used my stealth again to hide with some U-Haul trucks for the night. I realized that every city must have U-Hauls, which means I'll always have a place to park. This is kind of a mistake too, because I learned something even better in a few days into my trip. I continued cross country aimed squarely at Sedona, Arizona. Ever since I started studying van life, I've been drawn to Sedona. It's like the van life holy ground, and I really wanted to see it. And this is where I sort of ditched iOverlander and became more of an RV. iOverlander and stealth camping is cool and all, but maybe the biggest mistake I made on the whole trip, this stuff is only really necessary if you want to live in a van in one city. If you want to, say, stay in downtown Miami permanently, eventually you'll run out of places to park an RV. So you go stealth. And Charlie's very good at stealth, but I'm not really staying in one city. My whole stealth build may have been useless because if you're just traveling across country, there are so many places to park an RV if you just act like an RV. Every truck stop, Cracker Barrel, Denny's parking lot, people in RVs always have somewhere to stay when road tripping across the country. And after I learned that, it was so much less stressful about parking for the night. I started staying at truck stops and it got so much easier. Charlie, being a white box truck, blends in really well with trucks, but he's also only 25 feet long, so he can blend in at a Denny's parking lot with the cars too. Or he can look like an RV and he can park with the RVs. He really is welcome anywhere. No one takes a second look at a white box truck. So you can really park anywhere in the world in any city and nobody really cares. Anyway, Charlie was great up until Texas when things got a little weird. I got a check engine light, but I was actually kind of ready for that. Owning gas GM trucks, I know what their weak points are, typically fuel pumps, alternators, and transmissions, and that kind of stuff. And for that reason, Charlie has a Blue Driver product. You can get this on Amazon. It's a little dongle you plug into the OBD port of a car to read trouble codes, engine lights, and to diagnose minor issues. But in Charlie, it's always plugged into the OBD port, and the app that it pairs with is on the iPad on the dashboard. When I got my check engine light in Texas, I just minimized Netflix on the iPad and opened the app for the Blue Driver and quickly ran the code as I drove down the highway. I didn't even slow down. It was an O2 sensor code, and I've seen that before. When Charlie sits in traffic too long and idles, he gets an O2 sensor code because he kind of needs a new O2 sensor. But once you drive for a while and heat up the O2 sensors, the code goes away. And I hadn't had time to fix that before I left. I cleared the code right there as I drove along and it never came back. Enter Sedona. This is van life heaven, or at least it used to be. The city of Sedona seems sick and tired of van lifers roaming around. Sedona is like any summer tourist hotspot. All the big chains are here. There's gift shops every 10 feet and tourists everywhere. It looks a lot like Niagara Falls, and that was kind of annoying. They've also changed a lot of the camping restrictions, making it illegal to camp anywhere except a couple of very key spots. I chose the Windmill Wild campsite, and I headed there after swerving around town to avoid tourists. The dead slow first gear washboard road to the site was rough, but I put a movie on and I crawled my way down the road very slowly. This is sprinter country too. Sprinters are everywhere, and I know there's also Pro Masters, and I just call them all sprinters. Fully built sprinters, new builds, homemade ones, professionally kitted out sprinters. Every sprinter you can imagine is here. And I rolled in my moving truck. For the first time, I got noticed because I stood out. Once I parked, I popped the solar panels up and I opened the window and I opened the back, and people quickly came to see what was up. Charlie was kind of the star of the show for a bit, and everybody wanted a tour and remarked about how nice everything was with the tile and all the finishes. Finally, the land of RV builds. I felt like I was with my people. We had a potluck and it was amazing. Van life people, as it turns out, are just like sailboat people. I was instantly thrown back to the countless nights I spent on remote island beaches with nothing but other sailors sitting around the fire telling stories. These were the same. These are my people. The big difference with van life, though, is no one was drinking. In sailboat land, drinking is normal. Beach potluck, you drink. A trip to town for groceries, you drink. Tuesday, drink. 9 a.m., drink. But van life isn't like that. It's so much easier. And because I don't drink anymore, this made it more comfortable for me. I went on to see the Grand Canyon, and on the way home, crossing Texas again, Charlie went wrong again. I was so impressed with this truck for its first time out that something just had to go wrong eventually. There was a big winter storm in Texas near Oklahoma, and I pulled in for some gas. The wind was blowing cold, snowy air through the gas pumps, and I couldn't even stand to be outside. I jumped out, I set the pump, and I jumped back in the truck to stay warm. I heard the pump click after a few minutes, and I jumped out and I put it all away. When I got back in shivering, I hit the key to start Charlie like I had so many times before, and nothing happened. I turned it off and then back forward again. Nothing. Deep breath. Again. Nothing. There is a solution. I've been in so many boat situations where things go wrong. I know the rules. Stay calm. Think. There is a solution. No power. It has to be the battery. I popped the hood and back out into the cold. Sure enough, the negative cable was loose. The battery bolt had vibrated on this trip so much that it flattened some of its own threads. This is an aftermarket bolt that makes an extra contact point for the 4-gauge cable that runs into the cab for the amp and the DC to DC charger. This aftermarket bolt is a softer metal than a stock bolt, and all the vibration caused it to fail. A quick fix and I was back on the road. I made it home after 6,700 miles, 19 states, 1 province, and kind of 2 countries. And I learned a lot. Like, stealth camping is for people who want to live in one city. If you act like an RV and you keep moving, stealth really isn't necessary. My air conditioner is not enough. If I want AC, I probably need to buy a mini split and add another 300 amp hour battery to support it. I need some sort of reliable, sustainable heat too. I'm likely going to put a diesel heater in there where the electric heater currently is. I just need to find which diesel heater to buy, and that one that doesn't have that stupid clicking fuel pump that everybody complains about. 10 miles per gallon is acceptable if there's only one driver. A 300-mile range is fine because you need to get up and move around anyway. But if you have 2 drivers where you're splitting the driving, I'd probably want more range. Van life people, they're amazing. They're so welcoming and adventurous, and if you're into this kind of thing, these will be your people, I promise. They're super cool. Anyway, there will be a full tour of the truck coming soon. I filmed it, I just have to edit it. Please subscribe to this channel right now so that you can see more of what's next. And also, if you would, please hit the thumbs up button for me. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave a comment if you have questions. I'll see you guys.